I kissed Ma softly on the cheek so as not to hurt her. Then I pounced on Pa and hugged his neck. When? When? I asked excitedly. Soon as you go get washed up and get your best clothes on. Pa said. I was out of their room in the blink of an eye. Pa called after me, go fetch your other shoe first before Whiskey gets it and chews it all up. I was halfway up the stairs already and had to spin around to go get my shoe. It was a good thing too, cause Whiskey was already over by its sniffin' hit. Oh no you don't. I shouted at Whiskey. Boy, I spooked her good. She hadn't seen me coming out of the house, so when I shouted at her she tucked her tail and ran into the barn. With shoe in hand I tore up the grass rice and back to the house. 2 hours later I was sitting behind PA's truck driving us back to the farm. Seeing how I had been driving the farm vehicles most of my life, Charlotte Rose Blackwell, who had known me all my life and that worked at the town hall where licenses are given and who I might add has the biggest hair I ever seen, didn't make me take the driving test part. She just looked at Pa and asked, can he drive? Now, she knew perfectly well that I could drive and probably better than her, and there is a good reason why. She is my ma's second cousin and I might add that her and my pa absolutely love to hate each other. Putting them in the same room together is like stirring gasoline with a hot poker. After her husband run off with her sister, Charlotte Rose was beside herself. It just goes to show that no matter how much they hate each other, my pa was the first one to offer to help get their crops to market. For nearly 2 straight weeks I drove their tracker all over that little farm listening to the two of them grumbling at each other all the dang time. Since Charlotte Rose didn't have no kids to mind the farm, she sold that winter to Mr. Griffith and moved into town where she got a job working in the town hall. I suppose that things got to be done right when you are getting a license, so I didn't much mind her asking if I could drive. Pa answered her by simply saying, I reckon he could drive before he could walk. After that, she had me look into this weird contraption that flashed lil green lights all over and I had to say where they was flashin' at, then I had to read an eye chart that was hangin' on the wall behind the counter. I did real good at that, she even said so. I wasn't sure what to do when she looked up at me and made a face like I smelled of poo. For half a second I thought maybe I had gone and made a mess in my diaper again, but then she asked, don't you want to comb your mop before I take your picture? Luckily Pa came prepared. He pulled a comb out of his shirt pocket and combed my hair nice and neat for me. I didn't even complain none when he spit on my head to get my hair to lie down. Oh yeah, I also had to answer some silly questions like what does it mean when a light is yellow, and Charlotte Rose made me sign my name a bunch of times. The first time I started to sign my name I was so excited and nervous that I started writing Nevada, but Pa stopped me by thumping me in the back of my head and saying, your real name. Pa straightened my tie for me and I stood on the spot where Charlotte Rose told me to stand. Pa kept marking faces at me and Charlotte Rose told him if he didn't stop she was going to make him wait outside until she was done. I don't think she really would have done that, but it would have been funny watching her chase him out the door. As we were leaving I think I wasn't even touching the ground as I walked, and I think I would have floated right away had Pa not had his hand on my shoulder. I was holding my new farmer's license and looking at it as we walked toward PA's truck. That's when Pa said, hey. I looked up at him and he tossed me the keys to his truck. Why don't you drive us home? I clutched them keys so close to me that I think I left a key shape in my chest. When he pulled a stack of phone books out of the bed of the truck I realized that he had planned all along to let me drive home. We had to scoot the seat way up so that I could reach the pedals, and that meant that Pa had to sit with his knees nearly up to his chin. When I sat down on the phone books I felt that familiar squish and knew that I was hauling a load, and I don't mean in the bed of the truck. I was so dang excited to have my own farm license and to be driving PA's truck that even if I was wearing nothing but my diapers I wouldn't have cared if someone seen. I ain't bragging, well maybe I am just a little, but I drove PA's truck all the way back to the farm without any trouble at all. A couple of times Pa had to tell me to loose up on the steering wheel or I would break it, cause I was squeezing it so tightly. I guess maybe I was a little nervous and super excited all at the same time. When I pulled the truck up to the house, I think Pa and me seen at the same time that Christopher's pickup truck was back, and so was Doc Wilson's car, which was parked halfway into the yard. When Pa and me seen Christopher's truck sitting there halfway between the house and the barn and the odd way that Doc Wilson's car was parked, we both thought the worst. But I learned a long time ago that sometimes the first things we see ain't really right. Like looking at a pie, you see the crust on top and you might think it is a nice yummy fruit pie, but maybe under that crust there is meat or veggies. That's just how it was for Pa and me. We thought we were looking at a nice fruit pie, but we couldn't have been more wrong. The first thing that jumped into my head was that something was wrong with Ma or the baby. As it turned out, while we were gone, Christopher and his new bride, Megjin, had come home not long after Pa and I had left for town. Their timing couldn't have been better, cause Catherine had accidentally let the pigs loose and the pigs were running all over the place. Catherine, Kristen, Vincent Lee, and Benjamin were running all over the place trying to round up the pigs again and weren't having too much luck at it. When Christopher and Megjin pulled up and seen what was happening, they joined the chase as though they hadn't been gone at all. I expect that their homecoming was nothing like they had been expecting. Not that I know what they were expecting, but I do know what I was expecting it to be like, and it was nothing like that. Not long after Christopher and Megjin arrived, Doc Wilson had stopped by to check on Ma again, but was blindsided by one of the pigs as he was getting out of his car. He was knocked on his backside, bashed his head against his car and was knocked out cold. Everyone was so busy chasing the pigs that they didn't even realize that Doc Wilson was hurt.